Yeah, good afternoon, Gil. How are you doing today? Well, I guess it'd
I'm
be morning
doing
your time.
great. Well, it is morning for me, and glad to have you. Welcome, everybody. This is VA Claims Insiders Facebook Live. I just suddenly had a technical glitch, so give me just a quick second to get caught back up here. We're going to spend about 5 minutes letting everybody get situated, and we'd love to have you introduce yourself in the chat. Just put your name, where you're coming to us from, your branch of service, so we can see what that looks like. We'll give you a few minutes to get settled in, and once we do that, we'll go through our presentation today. We're going to talk about understanding the VA benefits matrix, which is a reference to the various things you're entitled to, the different benefits to which you're entitled at the different levels of compensation. We'll go through our presentation, and then we'll do our best to answer any questions after we get done with that. Along the way, if you have any questions, feel free to throw them up in the chat as well, and we'll do our best to get to as many of them as we can. And just so you know, if we don't get to any of them today during our presentation, we'll have someone respond to you a little bit later on. So I'm a veteran coach here at VA Claims Insider. I've been here about 3 years. Got to tell you, of all the things I've done, this is probably the most rewarding job I've ever had. Spend every day working with veterans, coaching you through the claims process. Our goal is to help you maximize your benefits and get all the benefits to which you are entitled. Brian, you've been here for a while now. How you doing?
Doing well, doing well. Yeah, I've been here almost 2 years now. Served in the United States Marine Corps. Yeah, I got out with a 10% for my knee, bunch of zeros for some scars, and kind of went on with life like a lot of us do. Waited about 15 years, and it was actually my wife who pushed me to go get some help for some of my conditions, and that's kind of what got me started down the claims process years later. And with the help of VA Claims Insider, it took me from that 10% to 100% P&T. So definitely a good process.
Good job. I'm a Navy veteran myself. It's been quite a few years. Boring holes in the ocean, if you know what that means you did that for a while. So I served mostly in destroyers on the Pacific Fleet. Loved every minute of it. Went on to do a few other things. Now we've landed here. Right. Let's see what we've got here.
Looks like we have quite a few people jumping in. James, this is from down in St. Louis. Kevin, Army. See what other branches we have showing up today. Quite a few Army. There's some Air Force, a couple Air Force. I'm sure we'll get a little bit of everyone, every branch today. We usually do.
Yeah, we usually get a pretty diverse group on Air Force. We tend to get a lot more Army than anyone else. It's obviously the largest service. But I'm always a fan of seeing my fellow Navy vets in here. Sawyer mentioned the world's finest Navy, but of course, when I see that, I always comment that it's more about quality than quantity. So glad to have all my fellow sailors in here.
Looks like Tom Knapp, their fellow Marine, I should say.
You almost broke one of the cardinal rules, man.
I know. Yeah. Yep. Always a Marine. Yep. He served quite a while, 76 to 92. Quite a while.
That was probably just long enough to figure out if you liked it, right?
Yeah, for sure. Well, before we get going, I'll read our disclaimer. We are not accredited agents, VSOs, attorneys, or any other entity recognized by the Department of Veterans Affairs, and we are not affiliated with the VA in any way. VA Claims Insider is an education-based coaching company for disabled veterans exploring eligibility for increased VA disability benefits and who wish to learn more about that process. VA Claims Insider also connects veterans with vetted independent medical professionals in our preferred provider network for medical examinations and independent medical opinions. They're also known as IMOs for a wide range of disability conditions.
When you join our elite membership program here at VA Claims Insider, we help you focus on strategy, education, and medical evidence. It's important that you understand that medical that wins claims. You'll receive one-on-one coaching with one of the coaches like Brian or myself or one of the many that we have here. You'll have a strategy session where your coach and you will review what you're rated for, what you're not rated for, where you've been, where you'd like to go. Come up with a plan to maximize those benefits for you. We'll educate you on the process, particularly claim submission. We don't submit claims for you. You submit your own claims, but we want to make sure that you understand how to do that. You understand the claims that you are putting together. And then once you have a claim submitted and the VA schedules an examination for you called a compensation and pension exam, we refer to it as a C&P exam. You'll hear that term a lot, but it's a compensation and pension exam. We want to make sure that you know everything you need to know in order to go through that process. We want to educate you for the compensation and pension exam prior to getting in there. It's your job to present your claim and your symptoms the best way you can. We want to help you be the best claimant that you can be. We provide live classes via Zoom every week, most every day. In addition to the Facebook Live opportunities like you have here, we have classes 3 times a day. We have our coffee with the coaches Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Central Time, just accordingly to your time zone. That's generally an unscripted hour with a team of coaches. It offers you an opportunity to ask questions about the process, not too specific about your claim. That's best left for your coach. There's also an opportunity to share some camaraderie. One of the things that many of us miss from our time in service is talking to other veterans, and that's an opportunity to do that Monday through Friday. We also have a class specifically designed to help you understand the mental health exam C&P. That's twice a week. Also, I think that one's Monday evening and Thursday midday. Our classes are always 7 p.m. Central and noon Central on the 2 different days. And then we have the medical exam C&P, the medical C&P exam education class also for things that are not mental health, whether it's a physical injury, an internal injury, something like that. We want to make sure, again, that you are properly educated on the claims that you're making, the symptoms that you have, and how to describe them so that the VA can rate you in the way that you deserve. Now, if you're not a member of our program and you'd like to learn more about that, you can sign up for a discovery call where you'll speak with one of our veteran ambassadors, one of our team members, to help you understand what we do, how we work, what our process is, and you can do that with no obligation just to find more information about us. If it looks like a good fit for you, you can certainly sign up to work with us. You can reach out to our organization a variety of ways. You can go to vaclaimsinsider.com to look at more information for that. You can go to vaclaims.help. We'd love to partner with you on your VA claims journey. There's a lot of benefits out there that too many veterans are not taking advantage of, either because they don't know how, they don't know what's available to them, and they don't know how to get them. And so we want to help you get all the benefits to which you are legally, morally, and ethically entitled. All right, let's get into the VA disability matrix here. What we're going to do is we're going to go through the different benefits that are available to you at each level of VA disability rating from 0 to 100%. And 0 is a rating. For those of you that have a 0 rating and think you've been denied, that's not an accurate statement. We'll talk about that in a little bit. You're going to see that some of these are cumulative, and so we may be repeating a few things. So we'll do our best not to be any more redundant than we have to be. But let's talk about starting out at a non-compensable 0% VA disability rating. Now, just so you understand, a 0% rating means that the VA accepts that the condition you claimed is a disability condition and that it was caused by your military service, but at the time they granted you that service connection, it did not rise to the level of compensation. So they give you a 0% rating. The benefit to you of that is that in the future, if that condition worsens, you don't have to reprove the service connection. You only have to show that the condition has worsened. Now, if you have a 0% disability rating, that still qualifies you for VA life insurance, Veterans Affairs life insurance, gives you a 10-point veteran preference in federal hiring. You get no-cost health care and prescription drugs for service-connected disabilities, and that can be subject to income limits. There is a travel allowance for certain scheduled appointments or care at VA medical facilities or authorized healthcare facilities. You also get commissary and exchange privileges and the use of commissary exchanges in morale, welfare, and recreation retail facilities, both in person and online. And then you jump up to 10 to a compensable 0% VA rating. This confuses a lot of folks. Let me try and break that one down for you. What this means is that if you have two or more separate non-compensable, in other words, 0% conditions, ratings at 0%, and the VA determines that those impact you sufficiently, you can be granted a 10% disability rating overall, even though all you have are 0% ratings. That allows you, a veteran with multiple minor disabilities, to receive some level of compensation, even if each one of those individual conditions is rated at 0%. Now, the disability compensation, if they give you that 10% rating, is $171.23 per month, and that's for the veterans. Disability rating at 10%. It makes you eligible again for VA life insurance, that 10% preference. Again, no cost healthcare and prescriptions for service-connected disabilities. The other things we talked about are the same. We start to get into a few other things, the travel allowance I mentioned, but waiver and VA funding fee, or of the VA funding fee for VA home loans, burial and plot allowances. And by the way, all of these are available online at va.gov. I think we have a link for it that we provided for you, and each one of them allows you to click on them and explore further the VA's explanation of each of these benefits. Commissary and exchange privileges I mentioned, as well as use of both exchange and MWR facilities online and in person.
Yeah, as far as the 10% disability ratings, and one thing to note too, we have an excellent blog that you can go to on our VA Claims Insider website that'll have a lot of the same information, a lot of great articles in there that will explain a lot of these different benefits. But yeah, as far as a 10% disability rating, the compensation is $171.23 per month. That usually changes each year with the cost of living increase. The percent varies year to year. You also qualify for for VA life insurance, which can be definitely a good benefit to look into. No cost health care, prescription medication service for service connected disabilities. I believe if it's not service connected, there may be a small copay, depending on your situation. Travel allowance for scheduled appointments for VA care at VA medical facility or VA authorized healthcare facilities. And like Gil mentioned, for the 0%, you also get a waiver for the VA funding fee for a home loan. 10-point veteran preference and federal hiring. As Gil mentioned, a lot of these kind of carry over, from each percentage. Voc rehab, vocational rehabilitation and employment. If you're looking to, go after, if your condition doesn't allow you to, procure gainful employment, you can check out that voc rehab, and you can also use it, to elevate your education, to maybe go for a promotion at work. So definitely check into that. Once again, the burial plot allowance, commissary exchange privileges, and the use of MWR. You can go to, if you're down in Florida on vacation, you can go on a military base and, rent the jet skis, for example, or, different things that MWR offer.
And let's continue at 20%. And Brian mentioned Florida, and any of you that are down in Florida, we're keeping you in our thoughts. Boy, it's quite an event happening down there. 20% VA disability rating. The compensation rate increases at each level. At 20% is $338.49 per month. And you still have all of the other benefits that we talked about, the life insurance, the no-cost health care, prescription meds for service-connected disabilities. That travel allowance is potentially available to you also, waiver of the funding fee for home loans, 10-point hiring preference. The voc rehab that Brian mentioned is also still there, the burial and plot allowance, the commissary exchange privileges, and also the MWR, morale, welfare, and recreational services are available to you as well. I think you're going to see that as cumulative as these are, we're going to try and hit the highlights, but we still want to make sure that you understand each level. Brian, take us through 30 and 40, would you?
Yeah, 30 and 40%. One good thing about that, the compensation per month goes up. For a 30% rating, it's a minimum of $524.31. While at a 40% rating, it's worth a minimum of $755.28 per month. And the reason we say minimum is because once you hit 30%, you can actually add your dependents, which will get you additional compensation, for 30% and above, any rating above that. Once again, the VA life insurance comes into play. Prescription medications for service-connected disabilities, travel allowance, for VA medical facilities, or even community care if it's authorized through the VA. They'll cover the travel allowance for that as well. Waiver of VA funding fee for a home loan. Once again, that 10-point veteran preference and federal hiring, which, that could make the difference of getting the job or not. So, definitely a good benefit there. Additional compensation for eligible dependents, as I mentioned, spouse, children. There's even one in there for parents. If you take care of your parents and supply over, I believe, half of their living expenses, they can also qualify. Voc rehab, the burial plot allowance, and the commissary in exchange privileges, and of course the good old MWR again. Whenever you plan a vacation, check out, figure out what kind of bases are around. You might be able to get some good deals, like I said, on jet ski rentals and a host of other things that bases have to offer, including base lodging possibly. So yeah, definitely check into the bases that are nearby when you go on vacation or in your area.
Yeah, great thing to take a look at. Let's jump up to the 50% rating for disabilities. As with each level, the compensation goes up at 50%. It's $1,075.16 per month, and that's the single rate for a vet without dependents. And as Brian mentioned, once you get 30 or above, you can add your dependents. Includes spouse, dependent children, dependent parents, depending on your circumstances. And there's an additional financial benefits for those dependents. Life insurance remains, no cost healthcare and prescription medications for you. And remember, at 50% though, that's for everything, not just service-connected disability. So that's a nice big jump for you right there at 50%. I don't care how good your private healthcare is, free is probably not one of the terms that comes along with that, but no cost healthcare and prescription medications through the VA. It's a pretty good deal for most folks. You still get that travel allowance for scheduled appointments, waiver of the VA funding fee for home loans, 10-point veteran preference in federal hiring, direct hire authority. They can bring you in right away. The Voc rehab opportunities for you there. We talked about the additional compensation for eligible dependents. Now this one, pay attention to this, concurrent receipt of military retired pay. For any of you retirees, if you're rated at less than 50%, 40 or less, you get an offset to your military retirement pay. In other words, whatever disability payment you're getting, you'll get that tax-free, but that gets deducted from your retirement pay, which is taxable income. The net amount, the gross amount you get is the same amount, but the net is a little bit higher because of that tax-free component. But once you hit 50%, that offset goes away, and you get your full military retirement benefit and your full VA disability benefit. So it's like a double increase for you. And if you're in that situation, you want to take a look at where you are. If you're at 40% or lower and a military retiree, if you can get that up to 50% above, that's a huge financial benefit for you every month. You still get the burial and plot allowance, commissary exchange privileges, and the morale, welfare, and recreation benefits available to you as well.
So going from the 60 to 90% VA disability rating, For a 60% rating, it's worth a minimum of $1,361.88 per month. 70% rating, minimum of $1,716.28 per month. 80%, $1,995.01 per month. And the 90% jumps up to $2,241.91. Try not to be repetitive here, but once again, you get the VA life insurance policy, which that could be handy, because with some conditions, when you start getting higher, it's hard to get that life insurance, outside of the VA for some. So that's a good one to look into. No cost healthcare, as Gil mentioned, at 50%. Once you hit that, there's no cost healthcare and prescription medications. That's whether it's service connected or not, they'll take care of you. Travel allowance for VA appointments or the community care appointments, if it's authorized by the VA. Voc rehab, once again, that's a really good one. A lot of great benefits, for the veterans, getting laptops to go back to school, to go after that promotion at work, that extra education to help improve your quality of work and potential income. Additional compensation for eligible dependents. As that rating goes up, I believe the compensation for dependents can go up as well. Gil mentioned earlier, once you hit that 50%, you get the concurrent receipt of military retired pay. And I mean, that's huge for the retired folks. You also qualify for what's called individual unemployability, TDIU, total disability individual unemployability. You must be unemployable due to service-connected conditions. For example, if you have a condition rated at 70% and it prevents you from working, you could possibly be paid at the 100% level. Burial and plot allowance still, commissary exchange privileges, and of course the MWR. Champ V, under that TDIU, you can qualify for what's called Champ VA. That's if you're paid at that 100% rate. Special restorative training, dependents education assistance, but the unemployability must be considered permanent and total. And what that dependent educational assistance is called Chapter 35 benefits. Our daughter used it last semester, and I think it's around $1,480 per month she received for going to school full time. That is prorated if you are going part time. Your dependents, that's for your children or your spouse. I believe they have up to 10 years to use that. Dental care, if rated under TDIU. That can be a huge expense. As we get older, those root canals aren't cheap. So, yep, once again, the burial plot allowance, commissary, and MWR.
Okay, well, let's jump into the 100% disability rating. And let's just clarify something that's confusing for a lot of folks. TDIU, total disability individual unemployability, is a designation that the VA has determined that because of your service-connected disabilities, which combined are rated less than 100%, you can't work. You're unemployable, total disability individual unemployability. And in that circumstance, they will pay you at the 100% permanent and total rate. It's not the same rating, but it ends up being the same benefits. And that's why a lot of these benefits, when you do apply for or obtain TDIU, they come with that. But there is a string attached with TDIU, total disability individual unemployability. It has a very severe earnings restriction because, as the name implies, it's unemployability. You can't work. And so oftentimes, although that might sound attractive if you're 70 or 80%, if you're still working or you still want to work or you have an opportunity to work or you may seek to work in the future, that might not be the best path for you because of those earnings limitations. And so you want to take a look at, do you have a legitimate path to 100% permanent and total, before you just jump on the TDIU claim and see if that's the best for you. It is good for many people, but it's not the best for everybody. And you want to take a look at that. It sounds attractive because it's the same benefits as 100% permanent total, but it does have that restriction. Having said that, let's talk about the 100% disability rating. Many of them are the ones that Brian mentioned under TDIU. The disability compensation at 100% is $3,737.85 a month. That's again the single veteran rate. More additional benefits if you have dependents. You have access to the 50 top federal state benefits and 100% disabled benefits. And what's important here is that although these are all VA benefits, every state has its own benefits, and some of them are in addition to the VA's benefits on top of those things. So you want to check with your state. Specifically, every state has its own agency. Usually it's the State Department of Veterans Affairs or something like that. You're still eligible 100% for the life insurance, no-cost health care, both treatment and prescriptions, whether it's service-connected or not. And Brian made a good point. As we get older, our need for prescription drugs increases whether we like it or not. And so that could be a huge savings for you right there. We talked about the travel allowance, no-cost dental care, which becomes available if you're 100% permanent and total. And that's for the veteran only. Waiver of VA funding for home loan, 10-point veteran preference hiring, direct hiring, voc rehab, all of those things, concurrent retirement pay, that dependents education assistance. Again, that's a 100% permanent and total designation. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. Special training for you to get you back in the workforce if possible. Total permanent disability discharge for federal student loans. Again, permanent and total designation is required for that. That's different. I mean, you can be rated at 100%, but not designated permanent total. What that means, we call it P&T. Permanent total means the VA has determined your conditions are static. They are not going to improve, and combined, you reached a 100% total disability level. Okay, that's what the designation of P&T means. When you get a decision letter that has you reach 100% permanent total, it would be nice if it had a big red stamp that said, I'm P&T, but it doesn't. You got to read through it, make sure that you understand where they designate that, if they qualify you for the discharge for federal student loans, dependent student loans eligibility. Read further and you'll see that's because you were designated at 100% permanent and total. It's in there. You got to dig through it, though. Make sure you read that. You get dependency and indemnity compensation for your survivors if you pass away from a service-connected disability, eligible for space aid travel. It's been a lot of years since I did that. I wonder what that's like these days. I haven't done that in many, many years. And then CHAP VA, that is healthcare insurance for dependents of 100% permanent and total disabled veterans at no cost to them. That's also a great program. So that's available to you. And then burial and plot allowance also. Permanent and total, that's where the big benefits kick in, 100% permanent and total. If you have a legitimate path to get there, that's something that you should strive for. But of course, not everybody gets there. Not everybody is 100% disabled. Not everybody's 100% permanent and totally disabled. But you want to explore your legitimate disabilities to make sure you maximize your benefits and you do, in fact, get everything that you deserve.
Yeah, we have one last one, actually. If you have a one service-connected condition that's rated at 100% by itself, and your additional conditions add up to another 60%, you qualify for what's called a special monthly compensation, SMC-S. Veterans will receive a minimum of an additional $446 per month on top of what you're already being paid. So that's definitely a good addition, to that 100% rating if you do qualify for, that one condition that's rated at 100%, with the additional conditions adding up to 60%. So if you're find out you're actually qualify for that and you're not being paid, be sure to reach out to the VA on that one.
Excellent. Great job, Brian. I think we've covered all of the different levels. I'm I'm going to go back real quick. Christopher looked like he asked a question. If we go over 40 again real quick. I'm just going to do that real quick for you, Christopher, just so we cover those briefly. We talked about the compensation rating at 40% is $755.28 a month, plus additional for dependents. That kicks in at 30. You have the life insurance, no-cost health care, prescription meds for service-connected disabilities. Because remember, that's under 50% still. The travel allowance we mentioned, VA funding waiver, hiring preference of 10 points. A few other things there, the book rehab, commissary and exchange privileges. So we sent you a link in the chat where you can go to this matrix at va.gov and take a look at each one of those things. And they list them just like this by percentage level. But most of those benefits also are clickable links that take you to a further in-depth explanation of each one. We just don't have the time here to go through every single one of those for you. We wanted to give you the highlights of those. But we can jump into some other questions here now. If you throw them up in the chat, we'll do our best to get to those that we can. Brian, did you catch any or see any rather that caught your eye?
Well, it looks like a D breed. She says, I'm 100% in Washington State. Semper Fi, by the way. They will pull my teeth out, but they won't replace. Can you help? I suspect you're talking about the VA since you are 100% P&T. Please correct me if I'm wrong. That's not something we can help with, but what I would recommend doing is talking to your patient advocate at your local VA. I kind of ran into a similar issue when I was deployed. I had a couple of teeth chipped, and the VA would cover crowns, but they kept falling off because of my teeth grinding at night, even with a mouth guard. At first, they didn't want to. I kept pushing for implants. They wouldn't do it. Even once I got to 100%, they just kept gluing them back on. And I went to my patient advocate and spoke to them about it, and they were able to help me out. So that would be my recommendation. If you have an issue with the VA, with your health care, whether it be health, medical or dental, talk to a patient advocate and see what they can do to help.
Great answer. Lori Burnett asked, how do they break down the percentage of matrix to get the final percentage? You have a higher number, but end up with a lower percentage. This is VA math. It's confusing for a lot of folks. Let me do my best short explanation of VA math for you. It's not, as I'm sure you recognize, a simple addition problem. If you have a 50% rating, another 50% rating, you might want to celebrate at 100%, but it doesn't work that way. It's a percentage. Each successive rating you get is a percentage of the remainder unrated amount. So, for example, in the one I just said, you get a 50% rating, comes off of your 100 of not rated, gives you a 50% rating. Well, that leaves 50 unrated. So if you get a new 50%, that's 50 of that 50, which is 25. Add that to your 50% rating, that gives you 75. The VA always rounds up or down to the nearest 10, so 75 gets you 80%. I know I threw a lot of math at you right there. There are calculators online that you can use to calculate those. There's a variety of different factors that go into it. But that is the mystery of VA math. Your numbers add up to 180%, but you're getting paid at 90. How'd that happen? Keep in mind, though, that, as you get a higher and higher rating, you have less to work with. And so, smaller ratings like a 10% when you are rated at 90%, well, that's only going to get you another 1%. A new 10% rating gives you 91, rounds down to 90. So it's a common question, Lori. Hope that helped you understand it a bit. I'm sure many of the rest of you have similar questions about VA math. It can be confusing, but it's not impossible to figure out.
Yeah. Yeah, and there are a couple really good articles on our VA Claims Insider blog too that'll help explain it, and even just messing around with our calculator, kind of speculating on different ratings and adding them in, that can kind of help a little bit with the confusion. Ernest Walker, Central California, Navy veteran. I'm 70% for PTSD. How do I get it up to 100%? Well, it just depends, Ernest. The way the VA rates mental health is they use a list of 31 symptoms. The more severe your symptoms, the higher the rating. So you would have to qualify or suffer from those symptoms that qualify for 100% rating. I'd recommend scheduling a discovery call. Get with a coach. You might have other conditions you could potentially qualify for as well. So, I'd recommend scheduling a discovery call and getting with a coach and going over things. See if you do suffer with those symptoms that could potentially get you there with PTSD or possibly some other conditions.
Great answer. Great answer. And you want to explore your opportunities and the benefits you have available to you. Shout out to our founder, Brian Reeves, who joined us in the chat. Brian, great to have you. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. So another question here I had. Melinda D. Reed asked, I've got several secondary items to an approved knee issue. Do they traditionally make that difficult via VA map? They don't make anything difficult on purpose, but keep in mind the VA claims process is a difficult process overall. Secondary conditions are no less valuable than direct connected conditions. And just so you understand the difference, a direct connected condition is something that was caused by your military service. You have evidence that it arose, began, or was diagnosed on active duty. You have a current disability, and you have a nexus, a connection between those two to make that a direct connection. A secondary connection is a service-connected disability that's caused by an already service-connected disability. In the case of Melinda's question asking about knees, let's say you're rated for your right knee, and because of that, you favor it. You have to put a lot of undue pressure on your left knee, and over time, that left knee might develop unnatural wear and tear because of the right knee disability. And so you may be able to claim, in this particular example, a left knee claim secondary to the right knee. It's going to be rated as a separate condition. It's not going to be more or less because it is secondary. The connection is the secondary part. It's not harder because it's secondary. And in fact, sometimes a secondary connection can be easier to show because you don't have to show that it began in service and try and find treatment records. Instead, you have to have a current diagnosis, evidence that it's caused by your already service-connected disability, and a medical opinion, that nexus connecting those two things. Common question, good one.
Yep. I want to give a quick shout out back to Joe Burke. He was one of my veterans who got to the Boom Club, so he knows how well the process works. Good to see you, Joe. Or good to see you on here. Pablo, they started paying my 60% last October and were not paying my wife as a dependent. Now they approved it, but they say I have no right to a back pay on that matter. What do you advise me to do? I definitely reach out to the VA again. I believe for back pay for dependents, they'll pay you back to that effective date of reaching that 30% up to a year. They won't go past a year. So yeah, I would definitely reach out to the VA. You can call them at 1-800-827-1000.
Yeah, the effective date is all important. So you want to take a look at that. But, the VA does make mistakes. So you want to check into your circumstances and make sure that it's all being taken care of. James S. Harris asked a question about sleep apnea. I filed a claim some time ago for it, but I was denied. It was found that I was diagnosed with it when I was in the Army, and I'm currently using a CPAP. That's that breathing device, that mask everybody makes fun of. That was provided by the VA after I took a sleep study a few years ago. Can I refile for this condition? The short answer is yes, you can refile for almost any condition. The key is, do you have new and relevant evidence to a claim that was previously denied, making it a supplemental claim? Without looking at that particular denial, I can't know why they might have denied it. You can get that decision if you don't have it. You can get it from the VA and see why they said no to that claim. You may not have had a current diagnosis. You may not have had a nexus opinion. They may not have found your diagnosis in active duty. You need all of those things to show it. But take a look at that and see. And if you can show a current diagnosis, show either that it began in active duty or is caused by another condition, and you can get a medical opinion connecting that. Now, where do you get a medical opinion? Well, when you work with us, you have access to our preferred provider network that are medical providers that you can take advantage of. You're not required to, but they're available to you that might be able to help you with medical evidence to support your service-connected disabilities. whether it's a psych evaluation to support a mental health claim or get an increased rating, whether it's a diagnosis of a particular condition, or whether it's a nexus letter or a disability benefits questionnaire, depending on your particular situation, they might be able to help you. But again, that's just a benefit that you have when you're working with us. You're free to use whatever medical professionals you have available to you. Those are available to you as a member of our Elites program.
Yeah, great explanation, Gil. It's like Ernest Walker, and this is one I tend to get often from veterans, just even going after PTSD or other mental health claims. I was told that if I got 100% PTSD, that I could no longer own a gun. True? That is not true. The VA cannot come in and take your guns. We're no different than any other civilian. If you're, the only way that could potentially happen is if you're, they feel you're a danger of hurting yourself or someone around you, and somebody reported you. Just like in the civilian, the civilian side of for non-veterans. If someone's in a danger of hurting themselves or someone around them, something could potentially be done. But having a PTSD rating, no matter what the rating, the VA is not after us not going to come after us to get our guns.
Great explanation. And one of the things that it's important to understand that there's a lot of bad and misinformation out there among the veteran community. I like to compare it to when we served. If you're sitting around a birthing compartment or a barracks, you can be talking to 10 fellow soldiers or sailors and get 10 expert opinions about stuff they don't know anything about. There's a lot of bad info out there. We work hard to make sure that we provide you the most current and accurate information available from the VA and about the VA process. That is a common question that we get because there is so much fear among veterans about what's going to happen to them if they make a particular claim. But get the right answers. We work hard to make sure that we dispel those rumors. We still get the questions all the time, but I would rather answer those questions than have vets presume they know something when in fact it's not correct.
Looks like Derek Jones. Do you have to apply for these benefits, or are they automatically given, such as life insurance, medical care for non-service connected? Once again, for that medical care, you have to be 50% for them to cover, any medical condition. As far as life insurance, that's something you have to apply for. The reason they offer that is because they realize as we go up in service connection, we have more disabilities, so we may not be eligible for other life insurance out there. Not saying we all aren't, but that's one of the reasons they do that. But you do have to apply. And there is a fee. I mean, if there is a monthly fee, you have to pay for that insurance unless you are unable to work. I believe they waive that fee if you, I was told if you work less than 25 hours per week, they will waive that insurance fee.
Tom Knapp mentioned state property tax exemptions at 100% P&T. He got that benefit from his state. It paid him back taxes, paid his effective date. Don't forget back taxes you paid during your claim. That's what I was talking about with state benefits. Every state is different. You want to take a look at that. Our founder, Brian Reese, has a new book out that is a great resource for all of that information. You can find that on Amazon. Let's see, VA Claim Secrets is the name of that one. The prior one was You Served, You Deserve. Those are great resources for you to find out all of the benefits to which you're entitled, because it's not just directly from the VA. It also may be your state, and back taxes is one of those. So take a look at that. That's something you earned. Don't sell yourself short. Don't figure, well, I've got enough. You served. You deserve everything that you're entitled to. They made those benefits available to you on purpose. So don't forget to check them out and ask for them.
Let's see here. Trying to see if there's any others in there that we might have missed. I think you hit on James with the sleep apnea. How long did it take?
I think I did.
compensated for sleep apnea. Yeah, it all depends.
Sherman. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. Go.
Yeah, Sherman Barker put in a claim for 9 conditions. 2 conditions were rated, the others were rated, and the claim was closed. What can I do? If what you're saying is that some were granted and some were denied, you want to take a look at your decision and see why they rated you what they did for the ones they granted, why they denied the ones they denied. One of the important things to look at in those decision letters, after you get it, and if you get denied and you crumple it up and you throw it in the trash, pull it back out, smooth it out, and take a look at what it actually says. You want to look at the details. You want to look at the favorable findings for each claim. You want to look at the explanation of why they granted what they granted and why it qualified for that particular rating and why it didn't qualify for the higher rating that you might have thought you could get. It'll tell you what symptoms they didn't observe in you. If they denied the claim, they'll tell you exactly why that was too. They didn't find a connection to your military service. They didn't find a diagnosis or treatment on active duty or complaints on active duty, or they don't find a current diagnosis. Sometimes those are correct. Most of the time those are correct, but it gives you a roadmap on how to overcome those decisions if it's possible to do so. Sometimes we submit claims that are just not going to win, okay? And you want to be careful about that. One of the great things about working with our veteran coaches is that we stay current on all of the VA rules and regulations, and we want to advise you on how to get the ratings you deserve. You may see something that in your heart is a service-connected disability, but you don't have the evidence to prove it. You don't have the evidence to support the rating that you think you deserve. And so when you work with one of our coaches to help you identify those that make the most sense for you, and the ones that you can claim, the legitimate claims you have, that you have a greater likelihood of success. Nobody can guarantee anything. We certainly can't and we won't, but we'll help you identify those claims and coach you to getting the medical evidence, putting the claim together in the best way possible so that when you submit your claim, you're submitting a claim that's hopefully easy for the VA to say yes to and difficult for them to say no to.
Definitely. A couple of quick shout outs. I see another one of my fellow veterans, Kenneth. Good to see you on here. And Coach Jen, she's joining us today. Excellent coach, and glad to see you on here, Jen. My VA soapbox: if your schedule rating is 90%, 70% for PTSD, and 60% for, I believe, CKD, if you are awarded TDIU on PTSD alone, does that count on the 100% qualification toward SMCS? Then the 60% for the rest? Unfortunately, no. You have to have that one condition that's rated at 100% alone. For the PTSD, that'd be 70%. So that's that a 70% rating. Yours being paid at the 100% level, due to individual unemployability.
Couple quick ones here. Tom Knapp asked, is 100% PNT a rating that the VBA will leave you alone? Yes, once you're permanent in total, the VA is not going to review your claims in the future. They've designated as permanent and total, meaning it's not changing. Now, if you go back and you ask the VA to revisit something, they certainly will. So don't poke the bear. If you're at 100% permanent in total, you want to leave that alone. You want to make sure you're getting all the benefits that you deserve. You can't get more than 100% other than SMCs, as Brian was talking about, special monthly compensations for different specific things. But don't seek a higher rating for a rated condition thinking you're going to get paid for 110, 120, 130%. That's not going to happen. But if you do that, you're asking the VA to open up your claims and take a look at those things. So you'll get left alone otherwise.
Definitely. Yep. I'm never touching anything again. Looks like Daryl I recently had prostate cancer. Sorry to hear that, brother. I am 100% now under the PACT Act. Does this qualify for property tax exemption? I'd get with your county. Every state, every county is a little bit, could be a little bit different. So I would check with your county and see if they require that P&T at the end. Are you 100%? If not P&T, you may not. But I would definitely take your award letter, to tax assessor office and ask them directly. They'll let you know.
And keep in mind that 100% is temporary for that prostate cancer while you're undergoing treatment until it's determined. Stay strong, brother. Hopefully that's working out for you. But fortunately, that is service connected for you, so they got you that temporary 100%. Raimundo Lopez asked, I filed a claim over 15 years and was denied. Should or could refile since condition has affected me as I get older? As I mentioned before, you can resubmit claims. There's no statute of limitations. There's no rule against it. But you're going to want to have new and relevant evidence to support your claim that was previously denied. And again, you want to see why was that denied? Was there not a current diagnosis at the time? Was there not evidence that arose in service or was caused by another service-connected disability? And did you not have a nexus, a connection between those two things? It's the same questions every single time that you have to answer in order to have a legitimate claim approved by the VA. So can you file a claim? Absolutely. Should you? Well, do you have the evidence? Can you connect it? Can you support your claim with medical evidence? If you can, then it's something you're going to want to pursue. And those are the kinds of analysis that we do every day with our veterans. As coaches, we're always looking to say, all right, what do you have that should have been granted or could be granted now? Or what are you rated for that can be legitimately increased? These are all your claims. Nobody should care more about your claims than you. Our goal is to coach you and educate you so that you get all of the benefits that you're entitled to, all of them.
Yeah, and your reply kind of carries over to Chuck Mann. I'm at 90%, been trying to get to 100%, but denied unworkable. Been drawing SSI since 2002 for non-workable. Said they didn't get records from BAMC. I'd recommend, getting on that discovery call, get with a coach and, see if you can come up with a strategy to possibly get you there. It all depends on, what conditions you can tie back to the military or secondary conditions. That's one thing I didn't realize, after being out for, 15 years, I didn't realize there were secondary conditions. I didn't realize I could service connect my radiculopathy secondary to my back. There's a host of other secondary conditions that you could potentially qualify for. So, jump on that discovery call and see what we can do.
Brian highlighted an important point. There's a lot of information about the VA and about your disability benefits that vets just don't have. They don't understand. They don't know where to get it. It can be a very complicated and challenging system, even for those of you that have been in it on your own for a long time. You've run into roadblocks. You've stumbled along the way. We're here to try and help you overcome some of those things. In doing that, I just want to remind you a couple of things. When you work with one of our veteran coaches, we focus on strategy, education, and medical evidence. What's the best path for you to take to maximize those benefits? What are the things that you should learn about your claims and the VA process so that you can be the best claimant you can be? And what medical evidence do you need? And just as important, how could you get it? Is it in your service treatment records, what occurred when you were on active duty? Is it in your post-service medical records, either private records or VA records? Or do you need additional medical evidence from an outside source? When you work with us, as I mentioned before, you have access to a company called Telemedica, which is in our preferred provider network to help you obtain some of that medical evidence if you choose to use them. Not required. You can go wherever you want. But your coach is going to help you identify how to do all of those things. That's one-on-one coaching with you, with one of us. And you'll have a strategy session where you help identify those things. Make sure that you understand how to submit your claim so that when you do submit your claim, you're doing it the right way with the right evidence to increase the likelihood that your claim will be granted. And then, of course, we want to make sure that you're ready for the compensation and pension exam that usually comes following a claim submission, the CNP exam, as we call it. That's why we have our classes multiple times a week so that you can be better prepared, so that you can be better educated on how to go through that process. You understand what it's about, why they're doing it, what conditions they want to look at, and how to explain your legitimate symptoms, and so that you get the rating you deserve. And those are live classes via Zoom. We have 3 times a day. I mentioned already, coffee with the coaches in the morning. We have a midday class and an evening class. We rotate the schedule so that each week it's the same, but different days have different classes. We have our mental health exam education class, our medical exam education classes, all designed to help you be the best claimant you can be. I mentioned Brian's new book, VA Claim Secret. Just make sure that, take a look at that. You should be an information sponge here. You want to gather up as much information as you want. Being here is great. Okay, we're glad you're here, all of you. I don't remember how many people we had in here, but it was quite a few. And we're glad that you're all here. But this tells me that you're interested in learning more about the process, and that's great. If you still have questions about working with us, as Brian mentioned, schedule a discovery call. Ask the questions that you have. See if we might be a good fit for you. We are a technology-based company, so everything we do is online like this. But the way I look at it, if you could get here, you could do all the other technology too.
Yeah. Yeah, what's great about those classes too, the first half hour, a couple coaches will, go through a slideshow and go over a bunch of great information, to get you educated on the C&P exam. And then the second half is a Q&A, kind of like we're doing here. So if you have any questions about an upcoming C&P exam, it's a great place to be. So, be sure to, if you're part of the elite program, or soon to be sure to jump on those classes as often as possible. They're always taught by different coaches, so you get a different perspective each time. So the more you attend them, the more you're going to learn. Do one more real fast. Kimberly Campbell, are the doctors in your network available in all regions? And just to point out, they are a separate company, but it's all done virtually. You upload your medical records to them. They can look them over. They also offer mental health evaluations, which are done virtually, from the comfort of your own home. So it's not actually in person. So one great thing is you can do it from right in front of your computer.
And regarding, are they available in all regions? Most. Okay. Occasionally, there'll be a particular state where they don't have a doctor that's licensed in that state. But you can find that out when you talk to them. You can find out if they have someone in that state for you. Most states, the vast majority of states, they do, but I will concede that every so often they'll lose a medical provider in a particular state because it's a licensing issue. They have to be licensed in the state where they're providing the services for you. Okay. Anyone else we want to jump on before we wrap this up? Let's see.
It looks like Lori, if you're applying for Social Security disability benefits, does it affect your VA benefits? Not at all. If you can get both at the same time. And one program they do have, if a veteran is rated at 100%, the Social Security disability with Social Security disability benefits will actually put you down a fast track lane, or supposed to, I should say. Not to say it'll always happen, but.
Tamaine Aries Leak, I hope I said that right. I apologize if I didn't. I have a 30% rating for IBS. Are there secondary conditions that I'm qualified for? Well, most conditions can lead to secondary conditions also. Whether you're qualified or not requires a current diagnosis and a medical connection to that condition. So, are there conditions that can be secondary to IBS? Yes, there are potential conditions. But again, you got to have the medical evidence to support that. That is something I talked about a little bit earlier. We try to focus on that with our veterans to make sure that you're getting all of the benefits you deserve. IBS can cause a variety of things. Off the top of my head, I know hemorrhoids is a common thing. It may cause you some depression and anxiety issues because you have to deal with how, where can I go, what can I eat, and how far can I go without being too far from a bathroom. A lot of different consequences of dealing with issues like that. Very general question, but again, I'm going to recommend that you talk to one of our veteran ambassadors and see if you might be a good fit to work for us. Okay.
Looks like we're at the
Brian,
top.
I think, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, looks like we're at the top of the hour. Definitely appreciate everyone joining us today. Keep in mind we have a Facebook Live pretty much every Wednesday, unless it falls on a holiday. Yeah, come back and join us again. It was great having everyone here.
Great questions. We appreciate everyone. Brian, it's always a pleasure to see you. We're a virtual company, so we don't get to see each other very often. Great to have you. Hopefully we answered all your questions. Any questions that we didn't get to, somebody will do our best to answer their questions separately offline for you. But come on back. Have yourselves a great day. Thank you all for your service. Glad that you're here.